The sun burned like fire in the alien sky. Red sand stretched in all directions, hot and endless. No trees, no water. No sound except for the sharp wind and the soft flapping of wings above. Zariel lay half buried in the sand. Her body didn't move. Her skin, once bright and soft, was now dry and cracked. Her lips were bleeding. Her silver eyes were half open, staring at nothing. Her long hair, tangled and full of dust, covered part of her face. She was dying. Her family had brought her here on a transport ship. They told her it was a spiritual journey, a tradition of their people. They said she would be tested and then welcomed back, but it was a lie. They pushed her out of the ship, threw her bag far from her, and flew away. She had crawled for hours, trying to find help, but her legs were injured. Her left arm was broken, and now she had no strength left. Above her, 3 vultures circled in the sky. Big, alien birds with sharp beaks and hungry eyes. They were waiting. They could smell that she was weak. They knew she couldn't run. Zariel closed her eyes slowly. She couldn't cry. She had no water left in her body. She didn't understand why her family hated her so much. She had only ever tried to be good. But they said she was useless, shameful, and broken. Now she was nothing but prey for the desert. Suddenly, her ears caught a new sound. It was low, heavy, thump, thump. Footsteps. Her heart beat faster in fear. Was it one of the desert beasts? Was it something worse? She didn't dare move. She kept her eyes closed. Her body looked like part of the sand now, but the footsteps came closer, and then stopped right beside her. A shadow fell over her face, blocking the sun. Something warm touched her neck softly, gently. A hand, then a voice deep and calm. "Hey, you alive?" The voice was strange, different. It didn't sound like her people. It didn't sound cruel. It sounded human. Zariel opened one eye. A blurry figure stood over her. Tall, in black armor, with a helmet covering his face. A large pack was on his back. He dropped to one knee and leaned in. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "You're gonna be okay." His gloved hand reached into his bag. He pulled out a small bottle of water and gently lifted her head. "Here, drink, just a little." Water touched her lips. It was cold, pure. It felt like life itself. Zariel let a few drops fall into her dry mouth. Her throat burned, but she swallowed. Her voice came out weak, broken. "Why, help." The man looked at her, helmet still on. He didn't answer right away. Then, softly he said, "Because no one else did." He picked her up slowly, carefully, like she was made of glass. She was light, almost weightless in his arms. Zariel tried to speak again. "Who are you?" The man walked through the sand, heading toward a small shelter half hidden behind a dune. As he walked, he said, "Name's Corin, just a traveler. A soldier, once, now I just help when I can." He laid her down inside the shelter. It was simple but warm. The roof was made from old ship metal, and the floor was covered in thick cloth. There was a fire pit, already burning. Corin placed her near the fire. He gave her more water, and this time she drank a little more. "You're lucky I saw the birds," he said. "They only circle when something's dying." Zariel looked at him with weak eyes. "I was dying." "Not anymore," Corin said. "Not while I'm here." She stared at him. No one had ever said that to her. Not her parents. Not her brothers. Not even her teachers. Only this strange human. She wanted to trust him, but her heart was full of fear. What if this was just a trick? What if he helped her now, only to hurt her later? Corin saw the look in her eyes. He sat a little farther from her, giving her space. "You don't have to trust me," he said quietly. "Just rest. That's enough for now." Zariel looked at the fire. The flames danced slowly, and the heat warmed her frozen body. Her eyelids grew heavy. Her breathing slowed. For the first time in days, she felt safe. Outside the shelter, the vultures flew away. Their meal was not ready, not today, and far away, hidden behind the dunes. Someone or something watched the shelter from the shadows. The first thing Zariel noticed when she opened her eyes was warmth, not the burning heat of the desert sun. This warmth was different. It came from a fire, close and steady. It came from a soft blanket covering her broken body. And it came from the quiet hum of someone humming a song. She turned her head slightly. There he was, the human, sitting on a rock near the fire, helmet off now. His hair was dark and short. A scar ran across his left eyebrow, but his face didn't look cruel. His eyes were sharp, focused, and full of something she had never seen before in any one fire. Not the kind that burns flesh, but the kind that burns in the soul. Purpose, power, anger, kindness, all hidden behind tired eyes. He looked at her. "You're awake," he said softly. Zariel blinked slowly. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Corin stood up and walked over with a small metal cup. He knelt beside her, offering water again. She drank, a little more than before. "You made it through the night," he said. "I wasn't sure you would." Zariel looked around. They were still in the desert, but the shelter made it feel like a small island in a sea of death. A few tools were placed neatly in a corner, a broken rifle, a pack, a datapad, and on the wall, a torn flag with an old Earth emblem. "You live here?" she asked, her voice dry. Corin chuckled, but there was no joy in it. "No, I just pass through places where people don't want to go. Places like this." Zariel tried to sit up. Pain shot through her ribs, and she let out a small cry. "Easy," Corin said, catching her. "You've got cracked bones. A dislocated shoulder. You need time." "Why?" she whispered. He frowned. "Why what? Why? Help me?" Corin stood slowly and stared into the fire for a long moment. The flames danced in his eyes like memories. "Because I saw your eyes," he said at last. "And I've seen that look before." Zariel didn't understand. "What look?" she asked. Corin turned back to her. His voice dropped low. "The look of someone who's already been left behind. The look of someone waiting to die. I saw that look in the mirror once." She didn't ask what he meant. Something in his voice told her the story behind it was painful. Corin brought over a small container of paste, something medical. He dipped his fingers in and gently touched the cut on her forehead. It stung. She flinched. "You were a soldier?" He nodded. "Yeah, a long time ago. Now I just try to fix what war breaks." There was silence between them. Not cold silence, but heavy, like the weight of things not yet said. Zariel finally asked, "Do you know who I am?" He shrugged. "No, and I don't care." She looked surprised. "You don't want to know?" "If you want to tell me, you will," he said simply. "But I won't treat you like a thing just because of your past. That's what monsters do." Zariel stared at him. No one had ever said something like that to her. And then a loud sound outside. Clang. Metal hitting metal. Corin stood up fast, grabbing a weapon from beside the door. His eyes narrowed. "Stay here," he said. Zariel's heart jumped. She pulled the blanket tighter, fear crawling back into her chest. Corin stepped out of the shelter, gun raised. Outside, nothing but wind. But then movement. Shadows near the dunes. He raised his voice. "Who's out there?" No answer. He fired one warning shot into the air. The sound echoed through the desert. Zariel crawled to the entrance and peeked outside. She saw him standing tall, gun steady, eyes glowing with quiet rage. Whoever was out there. They left. Corin stood still a while longer. Then he lowered the gun and came back inside. "They'll be back," he said. Whatever it was, Zariel looked up at him. "Are we in danger?" He nodded. Always. But not as much, now that you're not alone. Her eyes widened slightly. She didn't know why those words touched her so deeply. Corin knelt beside her again and whispered, "You're not dying out here. Not while I'm breathing." And with that, he returned to his place by the fire, his eyes still sharp, still burning with something uncheckable. Zariel closed her eyes, not in fear, but with a strange sense of peace. She didn't know this human, but she felt safer with him than she ever had with her own kind. It wasn't a dream. It was the sound of breathing, not hers, not Corin's, something else was breathing inside the shelter. Zariel opened her eyes slowly. The fire had died down. Only glowing embers remained. The warmth was fading, and the wind outside howled like a ghost. Then she heard it again. Huff, huff, sniff. She froze. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness, and that's when she saw it. A pair of glowing yellow eyes low to the ground, moving slowly. A creature crawling through the entrance of the shelter, its body long and lean, skin black like oil, mouth wide and dripping. It was a desert hunter. A predator, silent, deadly, drawn by the scent of blood, and it was moving straight toward her. Zariel opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came. Her body was still weak. She tried to move, but pain locked her in place. The creature crept closer. 5 steps away. 4. Then a boot crashed down under the beast's neck. Crack! The hunter screeched, but only once. Corin stood above it, eyes cold, blade already in his hand. With one swift motion, he drove the knife through the beast's skull. Its body went limp. Blood soaked the sand. Zariel gasped. Corin looked at her, chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "You okay?" She nodded shakily. I didn't see it coming." "I did," he said. "It's been watching us since yesterday." He dragged the body outside. The wind carried the smell away quickly. When he returned, his hands were bloody but steady. "I should have killed it earlier," Corin muttered, "but I wanted to be sure it was alone." Zariel looked at the ground, feeling useless. "I couldn't even move." Corin sat down next to her, his voice softer now. "You're not weak. You're hurt. There's a difference." She stared at the dead fire. Her hands trembled slightly. "That thing, it was going to eat me alive." "Yeah," Corin said. "That's what hunters do." He reached into his pack and pulled out another piece of firewood. Soon, the flames returned. Zariel watched him in silence. This human had saved her again, not once, twice. And not for gold. Not for power, not even for thanks, just because. He refused to let her die. Outside, the wind blew harder. But inside the shelter, it was quiet again, until Zariel whispered, "You said something back when we met." Corin looked at her. "What was it?" "You said you saw that look in the mirror once." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, years ago. After a battle. What happened?" Corin didn't answer for a while. Then he said, "My unit was ambushed. Half of us died. The rest were left behind. The enemy thought we were all dead. I crawled through broken ground for 2 days. No food, no water, no backup. I thought I was finished." She leaned closer, listening, and then she asked. "I looked up," he said, "and saw someone else crawling toward me. Another soldier. He didn't speak. Just gave me his last water and died next to me." Zariel's heart ached. "I survived because he didn't give up on me," Corin said quietly. "So I don't give up on others now, even if they're strangers, even if they're not human." The fire popped between them. Zariel wanted to say something, but her words got stuck in her throat. All she could do was stare at him. This strange, scarred man who treated her life like it mattered. Corin looked toward the entrance again. That hunter wasn't the last one. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice shaking. He picked up his gun and checked the charge. "Where there's one, there's more." She looked outside and saw two shadows moving between dunes, more glowing eyes, more predators. Corin stood slowly, voice calm but firm. If they come tonight, we fight. Zariel's heart pounded. Her people had left her to die. But this human? He was ready to stand beside her and bleed for her. Not for glory, just because it was right. She looked up at him, firelight glowing on his face, and whispered, "You're not just a soldier." Corin gave a small smile. "No," he said. "I'm your shield now." Asterisk had started with a smell, a strange scent, not the desert, not the smoke from their fire, and not the blood from the dead beast outside. It smelled like home, but not the good kind. Zariel's eyes flew open. She knew that scent. She had known it since childhood. The sharp chemical oil her father always used on his armor. The bitter herbs her brother chewed when he was nervous. They were here. She sat up fast, her ribs screaming in pain. The blanket slipped off her shoulders. Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. "No," she whispered, her hands shaking. "It can't be." Corin was outside, sharpening a blade. He turned quickly as Zariel stumbled out of the shelter, her eyes wide and wild. "Zariel?" he asked. "What's wrong?" "They're here," she said. "My family." Corin stood up, instantly alert. "You're sure?" She nodded fast. "I know the smell. I know the silence. When they come, they don't speak. They strike." Corin grabbed his rifle and looked over the dunes. "We need to move." But before they could take a single step, voices from beyond the ridge. "Zariel," a cold male voice called. "Come out. We know you're still breathing." She froze. It was her brother. Her older brother, Talric, the one who smiled while pushing her from the ship. The one who called her dead weight. "Come out," Talric said again. "Don't make this difficult. Father says we finish this properly." Corin looked at Zariel. "You want me to handle this?" But she didn't answer. Her body was frozen not by fear, but by something else. Hurt. The kind that only family can cause. She stepped forward, slowly. Her legs still weak, her breath shaky. Corin blocked her path. "What are you doing?" "I want them to see me," she said softly. "I want them to see that I'm still alive." Then she raised her voice and shouted, "I'm not crawling anymore." The desert echoed with silence, and then laughter. Talric appeared on the ridge with two other armored figures. His face was cruel. "You should have stayed buried, sister." Corin lifted his weapon. "One more step, and I drop all. 3 of you." Talric's eyes narrowed. "A human? Really? That's who saved you?" He spit in the sand. "Figures. Only a creature like him would waste effort on someone like you." Corin smiled slowly. "Say that again." Talric raised his hand. "You have no idea who we are, human. Her bloodline is noble. She's a stain on it, a cursed one." Corin didn't lower the gun. "Funny, she's more noble than any of you." One of the others pulled out a blade. "Let's just kill them both and be done with it." Zariel looked at Corin. Her voice was firm. "Don't fight for me this time." Corin frowned. "Why?" "Because I want to fight with you." She stepped forward, grabbed a broken spear from beside the shelter, and raised it with shaking hands. Her brother laughed again. "You think that stick will stop us?" Corin's voice dropped hold. "It doesn't need to." Then he fired. Boom. One of the armored men dropped instantly. "Chaos!" Talric roared and charged, but Corin met him halfway. Steel clashed. Sparks flew. Zariel ran forward, her blood pumping with a fire she had never felt before. Talric tried to knock her down, but she stood her ground. "I'm not the weak one anymore," she said through clenched teeth. Corin tackled the last enemy and knocked him unconscious. In minutes, it was over. Talric lay on the sand, coughing, blood on his lips. He looked up at Zariel, eyes full of disbelief. "You should have died out here." Zariel knelt beside him, her voice calm. You threw me away like trash. But I became stronger. Without you, Tarek's voice cracked. He'll come for you. Father, I'll be ready, she said, but not alone. She turned to Corin, who stood at her side, breathing heavy but alive. Zariel finally smiled. She had faced her. Past, and this time she didn't run. The desert was quiet again, too quiet. The bodies of Zariel's attackers lay in the sand, unmoving, blood soaked into the dust. The wind had stopped, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Corin stood still. His hands were clenched. His jaw was tight. His rifle hung by his side, but he didn't look at it. He didn't look at Zariel either. He was staring at nothing, like he wasn't in the desert anymore, like his mind had gone somewhere far, dark and full of ghosts. Zariel walked toward him slowly. Corin. He didn't answer. His breathing was deep, too deep, like someone trying to stop a storm inside his chest. Zariel touched his arm gently. He flinched. She stepped back, and then she saw it, his knuckles bleeding, his shoulders shaking, not from fear, but from rage. She had seen anger before, but this was different. This was human rage, quiet, burning, and full of pain. They were going to kill you, Corin said at last, voice low and cold. Yes, she said softly. They threw you away like you were nothing. Yes, they laughed while doing it. Zariel looked into his eyes. Why does that make you so angry? He finally looked at her, and his voice cracked. Because I've seen it before. He turned and pointed at the ridge. They did the same to me, not her family, mine. Zariel blinked in shock. You mean your people? Corin nodded. Long ago, when I was captured during a war, they told my unit I was dead. They left me in enemy hands, didn't even look for me. He took a shaky breath. They buried an empty box and moved on. Zariel's heart sank. She didn't know what to say, so when I saw them do it to you, Corin whispered, I saw myself in the dirt again, forgotten, worthless. He sat down hard on a rock, face buried in his hands. Zariel walked closer slowly. But you're not worthless. You saved me, twice. He gave a broken laugh. I didn't save you because I'm good. I saved you because I couldn't let it happen again. She knelt beside him. You're wrong. He looked up. You didn't. Just fight, she said. You fought for me, not for glory, not for pay, just because it was right. He wiped his face with a sleeve. That I must be crazy. Because I nearly killed 3 people for someone I barely know. Zariel smiled. Sadly, that's not crazy, that's human. He stared at her, confused. I was told your kind was violent, she said. Brutal, dangerous. We are, he said. She touched his hand. But you're also kind, brave, and full of fire. He looked down at her fingers touching his skin. You still trust me after seeing this? He nodded toward the bodies. In the sand, I trust you more, she said. Then they both looked toward the horizon. Zariel whispered, They said my father would come next. Corin stood slowly. Let him. She looked up. You want to fight again? He gave a small dark smile. No. I want to show him what happens when you leave your daughter in the sand. And she rises with a human at her side. Zariel stood beside him. Her legs were stronger now, her back straighter, her heart full. They had faced death, faced her past, and now something bigger was coming. But for the first time she wasn't afraid, because now the fire wasn't just in Corin's eyes. It was in hers too. The first thing Zariel noticed was silence, but not the dangerous kind. Not the silence of vultures circling above. Not the silence of someone watching with a knife. This was a soft silence, a safe silence. For the first time in her life, the quiet didn't feel like a warning. It felt like peace. She opened her eyes slowly. She was lying on a real bed, soft cloth beneath her, a warm blanket above. Her wounds were healing. Her body still ached, but not like before. She was alive. More than that, she was living. The shelter had changed. It wasn't just a survival hut anymore. Corin had turned it into a home. He had patched the broken walls, hung a curtain to block the wind, built shelves from scrap metal. There were even small lights now, powered by old solar cells. And in the corner, a tiny plant growing in a bowl of water. Zariel stared at it, eyes wide. A plant? She whispered. Corin's voice came from behind her. Yeah, I found a seed pod buried in the dunes. Thought we could use something green around here. She sat up slowly and turned toward him. He was cooking something in a dented metal pan. The smell, rich and warm, filled the room. You found food? She asked, surprised. He grinned. Traded with a caravan that passed by last night. Gave them one of the broken rifles. Zariel smiled. You traded a weapon for soup? He laughed. We've had enough fighting for now. They ate together in silence, and this time, the silence was comfortable. When they were done, Corin sat beside the fire and opened a small device. Music played, old human music. Soft and strange. Like stories told in rhythm. Zariel listened, eyes closed. What is that? Earth song, he said, from before the wars. I like it. You want to learn to dance to it? She blinked. Dance? Corin stood and held out his hand. I promise I won't let you fall. She hesitated, then took it. They moved slowly. Her steps were unsure. His hands were strong and gentle. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. In that moment, under the alien stars, in a patched-up shelter with old music playing, something bloomed between them. Not just safety, not just trust, something more. Zariel pulled away gently. Why are you doing all this? Making this place feel like a home? Corin looked at the fire. Because I never had one. He picked up the little plant, touched its leaves. But maybe now I do. She stared at him. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe she had one too. But peace never lasts long in the desert. That night, as they slept, a blinking red light appeared on Corin's scanner. A signal. Unfamiliar. Fast. Moving. Heading straight for them. Asterisk. The sky was burning red. Not from the setting sun. From the ship above. A sleek black cruiser hovered over the desert like a bird of death. Its engines howled as it slowed above the dunes. A red symbol glowed on its side, the mark of Zariel's father. Inside the shelter, the scanner screamed louder. Now Corin turned it off. They found us. Zariel didn't speak. She already knew. She could feel him. Her father had arrived. Not to rescue her, not to talk, but to end what he started. Corin stood, strapping his rifle to his back. We can run. There's a ridge 20 clicks north. I know. A cave system. No, Zariel said softly, standing to her feet. Her voice was calm, steady, strong. I'm done running. Corin stared at her. You sure? She looked him in the eyes. I don't want to hide from who I was anymore, or who I am now. The ship landed with a loud hiss. Dust blew everywhere. The ground shook under their feet. And then, silence. A door opened. Boots hit the sand, and from the smoke, he walked out, Baron Haviland, commander of 5 territories. Her father, tall, cold, eyes like ice, armor black as shadow. Behind him stood 6 guards, but his gaze went only to Zariel. He looked at her like she was a stain. You survived. She didn't flinch. Yes. You were supposed to be gone, he said, voice like stone. Erased. You shamed our bloodline. You disobeyed the elders. You begged for weakness. No, Zariel replied. I begged for kindness. For love. Things you call weakness. He took a step forward. Come with me now. I will end your life quickly. Corin stepped in front of her. You'll have to go through me first. Baron Haviland raised an eyebrow. A human? You think this soft creature can protect you? Zariel stepped beside Corin. No, she said. I'm not hiding behind him. I stand with him. The Baron's eyes narrowed. You would choose a lesser species over your own blood? I'd rather choose fire over ice, she said. And he burns with something you'll never understand. Haviland's voice dropped. So this is your final decision? Zariel took a deep breath, then nodded. Double quotes, yes. This is my final choice. And just like that, blasters raised. But Zariel moved first. She pulled Corin's back up, pistol, and fired, hitting one of the guards. Square in the chest. Corin spun around, firing beside her. Smoke and fire filled the desert air. Shouts echoed between the rocks. The Baron charged, but not at Corin. At her. She stood her ground. No armor. No shield. Just fire in her soul. They clashed, father against daughter. He struck hard, but she blocked. She wasn't stronger, but she was no longer afraid. Corin fought beside her. Together, they brought the guards down one by one. And in the final moment, she knocked her father's blade from his hand. He fell to one knee. She pointed the pistol at him. Breathing hard, he looked up at her with disbelief. You would kill your own blood? Her hands trembled. Then slowly, she lowered the weapon. No, she said. I'm not like you. She turned her back on him. Corin stood beside her. Together, they walked into the rising sun. Behind them, the Baron screamed her name, but his voice was already fading in the wind. Zariel didn't look back, not once, because now she had a future. Not in royalty. Not in power, but in freedom. In the fire she chose for herself, and in the man who taught her. She was never meant to die in the sand. She was meant to rise from it.